And I'm like, you know, it's like, they're like, I've known her for 15 years. Yeah, but you can't say my name. Hello.
And that's the reason why I usually go for abbreviations, or I might just drop it as Miss Sheriff, because it just seems, you know, just
no, you can do Isatta. I'm trying to teach people how to say my name. So Isatta. That's the one.
Isatta. Brilliant. Yeah. And you know what? I think that is quite good, because education, you need it.
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of the High Creativity Podcast. You're tuned in, locked into the one and only J, Uncle Juju, St. Paul. And who do I have in the building with me today?
You got Ish, and that's all you get from me from now, right now.
Isatta.
We need a bouncing ball. We need a bouncing ball on the screen with that.
Like, it was just ages me telling them how to say my name. That was what that was about. Yeah. I thought I'd help them out. I could see you trying to bounce it to each other. Like, who's gonna say it? Don't worry, I'll say it. So
he takes the lead all the time, so I was just waiting for him.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy this time. I decided to be polite. I decided to be.
You're the point guard of the podcast, man. You direct everything. So
this is also very true, but it's a team effort as it goes in regards anyway. So it's been an interesting one, and we've got an absolutely amazing artist that's with us in the building today. An absolutely killer female MC, multi-talented, teaches, so spreading her knowledge. Just seems to be like a good soul, and also a producer as well. So I don't know if you could really ask for more of a I want to say threat, because it just sounds as it does threaten him, but I think we'll call a hot dog a hot dog. We'll call it what it is in this instance, to say yes, she is. She's an absolute threat and an absolute beast. I want to thank you so much for joining us this
afternoon. Thanks for having me. And thanks for that intro. Where is
she? There's a mirror in the background I saw, so all you'd have to do is rotate and you'll see who I'm talking about.
Oh no, it took me ages to get this angle. So
it's like we were saying on the other pod as well, like how can we get our Instagram angles for the podcast straight? You know, where can we add our little filters and such?
Oh man, it's hard work. It's hard work.
All right, so
it's good to be here, man.
Thank you.
And it's good, like I said, we just thank you very much for joining us out of your very busy, should we say, schedule as well. So before we rock on, that's a bit of a weird flashing thing that hasn't happened before.
Yeah,
that's a bit weird. I was trying to do our announcements and such. Oh, please don't be funny today. See, guys, this is the life of an actual online podcast. Things just don't seem to want to work when they should be working. So we're going to try this one more time. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you're not going to be... Yay! It worked, see? If it doesn't work, try again.
Finally.
So, as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, just giving our usual announcements, shout outs and plugins. Make sure to check out the IAmHipHop magazine.com website for all your latest on hip hop interviews, articles, music. You can even check out the original IAmHipHop podcast that we did over on the Global Faction channel, or you're here with us right now with the new in collaboration or powered by IAmHipHop High Creativity Podcast. You can also copy yourself a physical copy of the IAmHipHop magazine that I designed from front to back. Yes, I did all of that, and then was provided by amazing articles. Yeah. So from back to front, obviously I didn't write all the articles. I'm gonna give the credit where credit's due with that, but did the whole layout from back to front, and that was my first attempt at it as well. And I have to say, heavily impressed. But also, so you can get your copy for £2.50 plus a £2 delivery charge if you're here in the UK. I process all the orders, so as soon as they come in, we ship them out to yourselves. And if you want a digital copy, you can jump back up on the IAmHipHop magazine website, and the links will be on there, as well as the IAmHipHop magazine Instagram account. So you can find us all there if you need your digitals, if you're international, or you can copy yourself some IAmHipHop merch as well. We got the crop tops, we got the t-shirts, we got the hoodies, we got the mama didn't raise no fool to just the IAmHipHop. And so what you guys waiting for, man? Like, copy yourself some merch. It helps us because we literally do this off our own accord because we love the game. On to the next bit, loud bass one. Go subscribe on the Mixlr, which is an actual digital or internet-based radio app. We play completely uncensored music. Some cases we do. And we're also looking for people to fill in our slots as well. We've got 3 hours a day. It can either be a pre-record or you can actually just come and join in with us live as well. And I play every Sunday and I'm always trying to play new and breaking music. So you better believe that Isatta's music will be being spun from this Sunday onwards as well. And if you haven't managed to catch us live, then go jump onto the mixcloud.com/IAmHipHop magazine to then go and listen back to all of those shows and you can hear me being me. And finally, before we crack on with this amazing interview, Metro Fest, have you got your ticket yet?
Yeah, I saw this. Yeah, this looks so dope.
Yeah, and well, I'm also DJing there on the flavor of the month, Uncle Juju, right here, baby. I'm gonna be there rocking it out with all of these people. Like, first of all, this lineup is absolutely insane, and from what I'm aware of, it's the first official hip hop and R&B festival for when we finally get let out of our cages or metaphorical cages. I won't trigger nobody. That's not my job here.
Did I see Skinny on it as well, or did I just imagine that?
No, so yeah, Tony Touch and Skinny Man's gonna be
on
Flavor of the Month. We've also got Fat Man Scoop is hosting the Capital Extra Reloaded tent. We got the Comedy Shack where we got Richard Blackwood turning up. We got
Stiggy, my dog. Yeah.
There we go. See, I forget that she knows these people. Cat Slim, Kane Brown, Bizzle is going to be up in there. We've got Mars Swain or Mars Swain. I don't know how he changed his name.
Big.
There you go. Horace Brown.
I
might just let you take it because this.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You are saying I'm literally just seeing people I know, and I'm like, go.
I know, but that's why it works. You see, so look, so you think I'm out here hyping this as a joke?
No, Terry Walker. Look, come on, this is mad.
And then we got Firing Squad was a big surprise for me. I was like, wow, okay, that's just come out of literally nowhere. And then you got even Skibbity turning up in the Jungle Mania tent. I mean,
oh my gosh, Ragga Twins. No, this is mad.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So if you haven't done it already, go cop yourself a ticket. If I get enough comps and you're available, I will happily try and hook you up as well there. Isatta, no problem. And nothing off my
Isatta, you're getting it a bit wrong. Isatta, yeah. No worry, it's good because we know when I correct you, I'm correcting everybody else. So they kind of get it. Yeah.
Oh man, this is, I'm gonna be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. This is
and then Tar.
Isatta.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a fun. This is gonna be a fun one, right? So, other than me catching foot and mouth syndrome as well, per usual, in quite a lot of these businesses.
That's all right.
Let's rock on with you.
It's all good, bro. We all need our Sesame Street moment. It's all good, man. It's all good.
See, when you said the Sesame Street thing, that just reminded me of the Dave Chappelle skits. Like he's like the count.
When's that festival? Sorry to cut you guys. When was that festival again?
It's August the 8th, I believe it is. Hold on, let me double check. I brought it down.
No, it's fine. You can tell me after. I just in my head, I was like, when is it?
Yeah. Here we are. The only time, Sunday the 8th of August 2021. So it's going to be one jam pack full of a day. I need to get a ticket for that, man. 100%. So, and also hopefully be able to catch you behind the scenes in that all access business.
You know.
But the thing is, even when I'm thinking about the festival itself, I'm like, because it's like so much in a day, it's like because I'm DJing, performing as well, and I want to be networking, try to get as many of these heads on the podcast as well. Hear their fantastic stories and the things that they've contributed. But it's like I definitely want to go to the comedy tent, but then there's so many performances and acts that I want to see as well. So it's like I'm gonna have to literally really plan this real hard. Like when you used to plan like a day in the
the theme park.
In Chessington. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. That's oh man. That brings back some memories, though. Chessington, Alton Towers.
Yeah.
The good old days. Right. Anywho, right. Let's rock on with the main event. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I always like to get to know a little bit more about the people I interview, also for the people that do watch this at this time. So, what was life growing up for you like? Let's start there.
I think like it was really mixed. So like I say to people, it was really mixed in terms of Stepney, East London, really just on the edge of the city, lots of different cultures and ethnicities, and there was, it is the poorest borough in the country, and so it's kind of like in London, pardon me, and it's and so I guess you don't realize that growing up. So, but music and sport was kind of a big thing there, and people did other things, do you know what I mean? But in terms of on a social level, you hung out on the street, that developed into certain people getting, there was like one of my friends had decks in his real house, and then everybody MC'd. So yeah, it was kind of for us it was really normal, but obviously when you grow up and you realize that you really didn't have any extracurricular things to do, and the most accessible thing was making music and playing sport, which I did both. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, I used to play, and I mean, when I get time, I play football now, but I used to play football quite a lot. And actually, it wasn't a me thing, just a me thing. Because I always say, because people are like, wow, because I actually used to play for Arsenal girls and Tottenham ladies, do you know what I mean? And like, and I rap, people are like, wow, you do so many things. But when I thought about it, like, it was, when I think about my friends, all the girls played football. Do you know what I mean? Because it was what you did in the estate. It wasn't just the boys there and the girls waiting. We all played a group match. And so when I think about a lot of people, who are my friends today in their own lives, all of us played football. You know what I mean? It wasn't a boys' sport. It was a, what are we going to play? Let's all play football. and it developed into, some people going into teams, some people didn't. But even the ones that didn't go into teams, they could still play football. And so it's very sport music based. I'm the youngest of 7, so a lot of siblings. And I was like again, I started like doing like jungle because it was, community center based and stuff like that in youth centers, and then kind of moved on to garage, and would be on like we used to, because we were quite young, we used to have our friends, our friendly's neighbor used to drive us to North London to be on Mission FM. So we had like a pirate, but we were like graveyard ship because we were like kids, do you know what I mean? So, they couldn't give us any prime time business, but we were just happy, do you know what I mean, that we were on radio, pirate radio. And so then that, and then I guess the grime thing was happening all in that period, but I think everybody listened to hip hop still, whether you did jungle or drum and bass, or do you know what I mean? Not drum and bass, it wasn't that. It was jungle and garage. So that everybody still kind of had hip hop bars as well, and I just took the hip hop route a bit more. I was probably influenced by my school friends as well, because I was in like a band in school. Like the only person who played instrument was a drummer, but he's playing but we were called DNA, Dynamic Notorious Attitudes, and they were it's such a school name, isn't it? But yeah, and I think it probably influenced me quite a lot in terms to go to the rapping, because the boys were into Busta and all the rest of it. And rest in peace, who one of our friends from that band passed away, in the last few months. So it's kind of sad, well, really sad. But so I think from that influence from DNA, I kind of took the hip hop route, but was the hip hop MC within the garage and grime development and of that's cultural scene. So I went, even in our school, I went to school with J2K, who's in Roll Deep, and he always rapped. He never did garage. I'm not saying he didn't, but his thing was rap, which is why his heat in the street, you could hear he was, he lived in Bow, so he and his friends were Wiley and all those guys. So he'd be, he could deal with all of us. We could all spit on grime, but some of us just chose which we lean to a bit more. So I used to do 1 or 2 grime tunes here and there because they were my friends, but my probably being influenced by my class in my school friends, I leaned towards the hip hop, and not really as well. And my brothers and sisters, being the youngsters, they were not of the grime movement, or they listened to garage, but They were too old for that. Do you know what I mean? So they listened to hip hop and stuff like that and R&B. And so I, probably leaned a lot to that because you listen to what your siblings are listening to as well. So I had a real creatively a real good mix creatively. And then I did some things a bit later on where we collaborated with we did a thing called Urban Classic, and we it was with the BBC Concert Orchestra and hip hop and grime MCs. When I think about it, I probably was the only rapper actually in it. The rest was like Bruiser, Purple, Pace. So yeah, they were mainly grime MCs, but I was again the hip hop MC amongst all of them. But then that helped me to forge some quite long, good relationships with classical musicians. And also I was a steward at the Royal Albert Hall, just while I was, for extra money and stuff like that. And I made friends with a lot of the ushers, the stewards, sorry. A lot of them were students at the Royal College of Music, which was opposite. So then obviously a lot of them, now kind of work in the classical field, and we still talk and collaborate. So real mixed bag, really. And then obviously through teaching, collaborating with a lot of other musicians who also teach, and now lecturing, the same thing. A lot of people who lecture, depending on what course it is, they have a background in music. So yeah, it's a bit of a mix. Definitely grew up in sort of ends, but not far. Grew up in ends, but additionally there were other things. And obviously culturally, like I grew up in a very, you can hear from the way I'm speaking, and I'm probably the least Cockney person from who I've grown up with. And people say, "Oh, you're really Cockney," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you should meet some of the people I grew up with and some of my brothers and sisters." Like I'm the least, because I went to college in Essex, even though that's quite Cockney, but it's not as, you know what I mean. I travelled around from quite young, so my Cockney accent is quite diluted compared to, a lot of the people I grew up with. I did a little short video that you can check out on IGTV. I dropped it yesterday, and you'll see that is how everyone around me speaks. So and like I say, it's very, Tower Hamlet's got a big Bangladeshi community, and which is really great for me, really enriched me. Obviously I had my African upbringing, and then it's very white, European, Irish, or so it was really culturally quite mixed, and that's kind of informed everything I do. And I'm kind of putting that quite heavily into my little projects at the minute, because why not?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely hear that influence in your music, and it's dope.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to playing football. In the States, that's soccer.
No, it's football.
Yeah. And girls play a lot in the States. Like it's quite normal for them, right?
Yeah, play soccer. But this is just my dispute to him. I always have to. No, it's called football, bro.
Yeah,
it's not called soccer. No, it should just be called football.
I don't mind. Soccer, football.
We won't debate to the end of the day. But going back to playing football, talk about some of your idols growing up, football player wise, like that you looked up to, that you had like posters of.
Yeah, I mean, it's a typical, because I'm an Arsenal fan, so so
we're not looking to cause no beef out here. To everyone that's listening, keep your football opinions at the door.
Let's bring it in.
So you had the Ian Wright, because he was from Southeast, but he sounded like my big brothers, and do you know what I mean? And so, and then you had I don't like to big up this man now because he's a right sex pest, but Ryan Giggs, I had pictures of Ryan Giggs all over. Do you know what I mean?
Did you have the sunball? Did you have the Ryan Giggs sunball by any chance? You remember that? I'm not sure.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't have that.
Okay.
But I had posters of him all over my room, and and then obviously the Eric Cantonas, and all the big players, but obviously mainly the Arsenal players. Thierry Henry. And there's the girl thing as well, like the good-looking ones. So
they serve two purposes here, just so you understand.
yeah. But I guess the iconic one was Ian Wright.
And yeah, still is as well. I mean, he's still such a well-known
Yeah,
and
big, yeah,
respected
yeah,
person, and obviously pundit. And yeah, man, it's hard not to look at him. And also for us here, Ian, right. I mean, we grew up during
yeah,
all
yeah,
of those chants and everything. But going back to when you mentioned being the young, I believe you said it's the youngest of seven.
yeah.
What's sibling life like for anyone who has siblings? Like, to know that there's six above you, boy.
Oh mate, drama, always drama, because it's Tower Hamlets, isn't it? And it's such a like, it was like amazing because there was some really funny memories, but it was also like quite a lot traumatic as well, because if we, lived in this area as really dysfunctional, like, don't get me, I loved growing up in Tower Hamlets, but with the poverty and deprivation, there's a lot of issues, and so you kind of it went from really great to sometimes there just being really a lot of drama, you know what I mean? That in that, from one angle. The other angle is I was introduced to quite a lot at quite a young age, and that was positive and negative. But the good thing is, like, musically, it enriched me a lot. Socially, it enriched me quite a lot. Helped me to navigate a lot, because you see things and you see how they pan out, and as the youngest, you get to be like, I mean, that's not always the way that a young person goes, but you do sort of learn from your elder siblings' choices, whether they're good or bad, and that's not exclusively how it works. But yeah, like, I felt like I learned a lot through watching. I was a watcher, and I was a bit, and I had, because they were like older than me, I was like and I was quite small for my age, so I was just like, go away, you know what I mean? So I kind of had my own friends, you know what I mean? I kind of had my own friends, like, but trying to run behind them and go places, it was just like, no. So I had my own friends and my own group, and because I was just that annoying little sister, do you know what I mean? But the best thing is, I was dressed so well until obviously they all grew up, moved out. You know what I mean? Because I had all their hand-me-downs,
No
but they,
downs.
it's like, but it's like in sort of areas that are struggling, and young people, they fight to feel worth something. They fight to feel like, I've got good clothes and there's food in my cupboard, and you know what I mean? So I remember even silly things like people be like, oh, I saw so and so's mum coming back from Sainsbury's, and someone saying, how many bags did she have? Because that meant sort of a clout. And I was like, what? Even then in my head I was thinking, oh my gosh, so is that what they think when my mum walked past with a bag? How many bags has she got? Have they got enough food in their house? And so there was that everybody has, as soon as you're 17, you have to get your provisional and get a car, and so in that sense, because that is the way, I was driving really young. I had really nice clothes, but they were mainly because of my brothers and sisters handing me down stuff, and or buying me stuff, you know what I mean? So it was for me, I feel like a lot of the things like that I do is a reflection of the household that I grew up in, the things that I saw, the things that I learned. There's a lot of talented people in my family as well, not necessarily musically, but thinkers wise, they write books, and one of my sisters works in science, and you know what I mean. But my dad's an academic, so it's so there was a lot for me to take, you know what I mean. But not in a conventional way. It wasn't in a way that it was like maybe someone, they did it for themselves. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't formal as such. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It definitely does. And so, and because you also mentioned as well, you've already mentioned being, loving Arsenal. What was that feeling like to actually be playing for the Arsenal's, for the Arsenal team, or for the women's, younger Arsenal division? That must have been like a real something.
Yeah, I think for me it was quite. I didn't realize what it was, because what happened was I used to play for a team called Limehouse Ladies, and there was a guy called Edwin, and he used to just because there was nothing to do really, so he set up a girls team in just in the local field. We call it fields. It's one field, and it had an AstroTurf, and he had a girls team, and my sister used to go. So obviously you can see, like, I'm taking off of my older siblings, so I just went along with my sister. And you know, because there was, as I said to you, because there were so many girls that played football, because we played football because there wasn't, you know, there wasn't much to do outside of school. So then that made a whole, you know, area of girls that could play football. And so Edwin had a team, and so there was quite a strong there was a culture of girls playing football in East London, as it was a way for us to do something. So this team was set up, and then because it was good and we were meeting the Arsenal girls team quite a lot in competitions, and because a lot of us were good, they ended up merging Limehouse ladies and Arsenal girls. They became one team because there was a high amount of talent coming out of Stepney, in East London, and Tower Hamlets in general. That's definitely because of the you know, the situation in terms of how we lived, you know. So because of that, we trained as Limehouse ladies, but when we went out to play, we played a mix with, so we trained separately, but then we'd go down to Arsenal ground as well. So that happened quite naturally, and it came through a partnership with Arsenal girls and Limehouse ladies, really. And then so when I was playing for them, I guess it was a natural progression. They were already linked by the time I got there. And so I, in a way, thought I was playing for Limehouse ladies. And then, you know, we'd have matches on Sunday and they'd be like Arsenal kits, or, you know what I'm saying? Or we'd have to sign up, and I'd be like, and so then that gradually happened. I think I probably did not, I probably would have taken it more. I didn't take it serious. I played for years, but I think I started quite young. I started like 10, and then played up until about, you know, those teenage years when you just don't want to train on Friday night, and you just don't want to be in bed early on Saturday, so that you have to be out all day on Sunday. And if you've been doing that from really young, and I loved it, don't get me wrong, I loved it, but I got into those teenage years where you're like, I want to go out with my friends on Friday night. Why have I given myself this life? You know, you know, because it happened quite, you know, naturally. So yeah, like I think then later on I was like, oh my gosh, I was playing for Arsenal girls. I would go back, but you know, at that time I wasn't as, you know, I mean, I would say I think I was good for the playground. I was really good for the playground and really good for the estate. Once I got into the team, I think I was kind of average with bursts of really good. But I think I don't think I was like the best player. There was days where I was, you know, woman of the match and did some mad things. But I don't think I was the best, like best of the best. I think if I would have continued playing and didn't get into those teenage years of, oh, I want to go out on Friday nights and I don't want to get up on Sunday mornings sort of thing, I probably, you know, you train and you get better, right? But you know, I think I was a little bit above average. But I think, yeah, I don't know if I was the best. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't bad. I was good. I was very good. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to downplay how good I was. I'm just saying, you know, I don't know if I needed to have trained really, really hard if I was gonna stay in the first, you know, go into the first team and stay there and keep playing and go into the England team and stuff like that. I would have needed to work really, really hard, because a lot of my friends did that. You know what I mean? A lot of people who play, like I say, Alex Scott was in that team, so you know, she played in my team and she's from Stepney. Do you know what I mean? So you know what I'm saying? And that's that culture of everyone, a lot of the girls, not everyone, but a lot of the girls played football because there was nothing to do.
It does really go to show, though, it's like even in those situations, especially as you were saying in your area, and you know, with the poverty and that, it's like we always still find something to do. Because I remember those ones like, before the days of the internet, or you know, consistent internet and all of the tech that we have now, it was exactly like you said. Like, there was an estate nearby me called White Flats, and we used to
Bethnal.
No. It's Ealing side. So it's like Carnival.
Yeah. So there's White Flats down Bethnal. What?
Yeah.
You live in White Flats? I was gonna say.
Yeah, sorry, no.
I was gonna say, do you know this person? Do you know George?
And if somehow I missed a beat with you, if that was a connection, I would just cut the interview and just, you know, go stand in the corner a little bit to say, really?
I'd have been like, nah, I thought you here. I was about to say, you're not from White Flats. I ain't seen you there.
See, look. That's
I
my
see white flats. What block? What number? What number?
who you know, fam? No, I'm talking white flats.
Do you know Morris? Do you know Morris? Do you know Clinton?
And that's how we always catch people out, you know, when people claim all
Yeah.
their big. It's like, no, you might have lived near there. You weren't from there. No, I used
Yeah.
So where it was, there was like an alleyway, then there was like my house, like in between. That's like two houses, my house, and then you just go down, and then there'll be Ealing's white flats or Hanwell's white flats.
Yeah.
Shout out the boroughs, W7. But we used to skate. I never used to be able to skate too well, but we used to like play skate. Skate.
Yeah. So here you go. You taking in what the. Yeah,
exactly. Football, we used to have like the little we used to have like the rivers and the Brent River and such on the back of us. So we used to just venture out, jump on bikes, and it used like literally the estates, or just even the roads in general, were always so vibrant and lively. Like that's how we've so used to. I suppose that's where we kind of built our social connections from, and our actual social skills.
Absolutely, yeah.
Was from those environments and that. But let's skip on a little bit, because as you mentioned, also in the local centers, which I miss. I'm not gonna lie, I do miss those community centers. Used to do quite a lot. So because I believe you even mentioned a little bit of it in your kind of biography as well. Because you talk about, you know, those experiences, and like you said, you know, starting off kind of like on the jungle, but you know, still doing the rap thing. So do you mind diving in a little bit deeper into how that setup was and what that was like for you as an experience?
Yeah, I think so rich, so beautiful, man. Like really rich, like the opposite of rich, but you know what I mean. Like culturally rich. But yeah, like it was like I say, I big up Shaq. I don't know even if he does a thing online, but he used to have a little studio that we used to go in. And I remember going in with my friend, and she was like the rapper, and she was an influence on me and my friend Angela. Yeah, she used to rap, and I used to sing the hooks because I had quite a high voice. Well, I still have quite a high voice, but I had a very high voice then. And that was like really for me. I just thought we're doing it. Like I sort of wish we went back to that, you know, where you could only just do it like then and it was on the tape. Do you know what I mean? And then so yeah, we should just hop to anywhere that would allow us to do music. And it was like so important for us to find, you know. And so I think there was a few little spots where they'd, you know, it'd be on set days and we'd all turn up. Do you know what I mean? Like we used to have, there was a youth club in Bethnal Green, and I remember that was the first time I saw, you know, we were like, you know, the little kind of green-eyed looking up at Major Ace, and you know, well, people used to call him Kylie, but Wiley. And I remember always thought Wiley's name was Kylie first of all, because that's what everyone used to call him, Kylie. I didn't realize they were cussing him. Like I thought that was his name. And Kylie, and then I realized over time, oh no, his name was White. Like as I first was introduced to him as Kylie. And yeah, so that was really sick. Now thinking back, just watching sort of legends, and rest in peace Major Ace, you know. And Major Ace used to hang around with my cousin as well, and he used to sort of just hang around. And you don't realize that you're in something really important. Do you know what I mean? And we used to go, like, that's how I used to write my bars for the youth center. And you kind of need somewhere to go to put your bars down. If you do, there was a thing where you do it socially, you do it with your friends, in the bedrooms and blah blah. But you have to have an endpoint, and that endpoint was just the youth club where, you know, DJ, and you know, you're spitting and I'd have just 116 ready. Do you know what I mean? Just one. Just one that I put, you know, over jungle, and it was amazing. I used to listen to my friend as well, James Boff. I used to listen to him, and I just looked up to him so much because I just didn't understand it, so I just used to listen to radio religiously, you know. And then yeah, just going into those social spaces, like again, it was definitely, you know, or again, when I first saw people doing that, it was more because, you know, I saw certain girls doing it, and you know, they weren't bad, I guess, thinking about it now, but at the time I was just a bit like, oh, they just like them, that's why they're bigging them up. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like I can spit. Do you know what I mean? So that was a bit out of competition that I thought, and the attention that I felt like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spit, because why is she getting bare attention? All she's doing is squeaking, sort of thing. So, you know, and yeah, that was I guess that's the way you felt like you had to be. And now I think about it, that mentality is a bit rubbish, but that is kind of what made me kind of write my first youth centre bars. Do you know what I mean? And so I guess in a way, she made me think I can do it. Do you know what I mean? And then, yeah, just kind of, like I say, being with a lot of people who were kind of doing their thing now at the minute on radio. That was a really nice time. I remember being on radio and Kelly LaRock ringing in because we'd played her song and we were like, oh my gosh, we love this song. And she was just listening. She just happened to be listening. And so she called in as a live caller. And we were like, that was like one of the best moments of my life, even now, because I remember the euphoric moment as a kid, just having one of your idol, the song we played in every set, you ring up and to say thanks for bigging up her song. And I ended up, like, you know, she ended up meeting us and, you know, coming down and showing us love. So that for me was like a really special time. Do you know what I mean? You know, that now you can be on radio and shout out someone whose tune you're playing, and then you're meeting them the next day. You know, things like that happened all the time. Or you just roll to certain places and then there's just big names there. Big now, obviously. I'm reading about them in books now, and you know, you just walk into a house and they'd just be there. Do you know what I mean? Or I'll just walk around the corner. Do you know what I mean? And you know, Target's in the studio with J2K, and I'm going to meet J2K because, you know what I mean, he's doing something for me, but then he's got the whole of Road Eat crew around him. You know what I mean? So
wow.
you know what I'm saying? So it was good, man.
We might need to do a whole biography, like a videography, like just of you and your
Yeah.
experiences and getting you lot together, because I suppose talking from being like from this side on the West, it wasn't, we had a few heads, but it was never as intense as it seemed to be where it was over in East, because on that side, it seemed like when it kind of came to the culture, you guys were literally all about it, because like down here on the West side of things, it was so hard to find like a female MC, but now listening to your stories, and you're saying it's like it's not just you one or two that's within these groups. You're saying that there's a whole squad. There's a squad of you guys literally on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we did get sensationalized. It's not like there was there was still lower in number in terms of guys, but there was still it was kind of a general, like I say, there wasn't, so I guess when the younger we were, there was a less focus on sort of it being a masculine or feminine thing. It was just, we just need something to do. Do you know what I mean? And everybody did it. And I guess, you know, when you stick with it, you know, then those sort of wineries become a bit more obvious, but and you know, and then you have to fight, you know, because you know, but there was a bit like people it helped you to stand out being one of a few girls, because you know, but it was still kind of a bit tokenistic, you know. People were ready to take the mic, like what's his name was trying to take the mic from Dizzy, Crazy Titch. Do you know what I mean? After 16, people are ready to take that mic from you, so you kind of had to be there a bit like, oh, that's cute, like, give me the mic, and you have to be like, no, sorry. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like that. Yeah.
So the competition, but at the same time though, the competition is still fierce, and you know, it's like you highlighted as well. It's kind of like, and that's what you gotta love about just the whole hip hop, and just the fact that the music community on this side of things is we're always trying to spit something or be a little something more than what you are, which is always a little bit of the fun of the competition. Don't get me wrong, as we all know, there's a little bits of sour. I think there's just a bit more sour in a lot of cases now, but I just that level of competition really levels people up, and to be honest, I personally hear that in your music, because when I got introduced to your music and your new stuff, I was just like, because even Tremendous, I only literally got made aware of Tremendous just before I actually did the interview.
Yeah.
And if you two need to, but whenever you find it, you need to, that's a collab.
Yeah, I don't even think we've actually met properly. I think it's online business, but yeah, I mean, sure, things will happen in the future. Do you know what I mean?
And you also mentioned, so without us digressing and getting into how amazing your stuff is, which I'm sure you get a lot, but it's like the radio stuff, because you, if I get this right, where you want,
please. Give her more.
Yeah, just come on, give me cover.
I've got this shit. I was like, if I had any graphics to put around, I'll be doing things and you know all that.
It's still good. There's more coming. That's the good thing about it. I'm ready now. Ty set me off.
Yeah, no, have mad looking forward to it. It's no, like seriously looking forward to it. But yeah, so let's go back to radio. Like, so I've done
Yeah,
my little bit of radio, do the internet radio business now, and trying to build
yeah.
that whole structure up. But am I right to say that you were on Pirate before? On Pirate Radio, is that where you started, or was it
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get
Mission
in?
FM Pirate. Yeah, Pirate. That was us, man. Graveyard shift 2 to 6 a.m.
You have to talk. You have to talk about that Pirate Radio lifestyle. I love these stories. I can't get enough of them, to be honest with you.
In North London as well, man. Like we
Wow,
were
that's a
from
trek.
East. Yeah, no, that's what we were too young, so we used to get. His name was Badger. He used to drive us. He was like the DJ Crisis, who's now DJ Haynes. His dad's friend used to drive us down there. So that was really cool. And then it was Twin B. They were the Twin Bs, the two Alec and Alex. They were the DJs, and DJ Crisis. And then there was Bugsy and me as the MCs.
Wow.
And yeah, and Badger used to drive us from Stepney down to Holloway. And we used to just walk up the stairs with some flat. It was just these things that, you know how like it's like a side shop, and then you
Yeah,
can go
those.
in and there's like a side door, and then it kind of takes you up to some hidden flat. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
right at the top, but it was one thing I do remember. It was just really thin. It was like almost you wouldn't, and I guess they choose places like that because, you know what I mean. You almost don't know it's there.
Yeah.
And then but it was kind of like an unkept house. Do you know what I mean? You know, and there was like a room that you could sit if you were just listening to the person, like because sometimes they'd swap and rotate, and so there was two rooms, and there was one that was almost like the chill out lounge room, and then there was one that was then there was the room that where you did everything. Or no, and then sometimes it'd swap around a bit and it'd be all in one place, but sometimes I felt like we were just sleeping in it because it was like 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m, but we had listeners. Do you know what I mean? We had listeners. And it was the best thing. We loved it. We just felt like we were on an event. I don't know. I won't say we felt like we were on an adventure, but now I look back, it was an adventure. Do you know what I mean? And you know, coming home when it's getting light and stuff like that. And sometimes it was in the guy who ran Mission. Sometimes it was in his. I think when DTI broke up that one, it would be in. I think he put it in his house once. So I remember there was a time where we were in it because I just remember us kind of having to just be like not seeing anyone, but kind of seeing him and with no shoes on. But I'm like, he's like the boss of the radio, but we're just going into this little room. And I remember one time him just stooming, and so I know he had his family next door, and we were just random in this in this house in one of his back rooms. And then I just for me, what stuck out was he had no shoes on, like. Because he was at home when we were at radio, do you know what I mean? And then once he just burst in and just boom, switched everything off in the middle, because I think DTI were patrolling, and I just remember moments like that. Do you know what I mean? That was probably I think that was the day that Kelly LaRock called as well. But yeah, it was just really random stuff like that. And I just remember going to like meetings, and it was really serious. Do you know what I mean? Like we'd have like radio meetings, and I remember because we were like really young and stuff. We'd just be there in awe, kind of, because Heartless Crew would be there at the meeting as well. And that's what we cared about. I didn't even care who was on the station. We were just like, we're on the same station as Heartless. We don't care if we're on at 2 a.m. Do you know what I mean? We just, when people spoke to us, we're like, yeah, we're on the same station as Heartless.
And that's some serious badges there.
Yeah, and we would sit at the meetings just watching them like little fans, but trying not to be. Do you know what I mean? And that's why it's weird, because like obviously I feel like obviously in the music sense, like I saw them later on, and obviously the more I was doing, I guess my name got bigger, and so then I remember us doing the same show together, and I feel like I'm still big fans. You know what I mean? Like I see, Mighty Mo, like me and Mighty Mo at one point we were both doing a bit of teaching. I mean, he stopped. I mean, I lecture now, but we don't teach in FE. But for a while we did a little bit of artist development in FE. But I remember, like, I feel like I always saw. I was just like, like, do you know what I mean? Like, to me, I've always still got fan behavior. Do you know what I mean? no matter how much I try not to.
Yeah.
But then now I feel like I see them more like at music things where we're all musicians. But for me, I still see that little, you know what I mean, fan sitting there at the meetings, watching them in the corner. Us trying to look in the corner of our eyes so they can't see that we're looking at Heartless.
You know they notice. They're just like, yeah, we get this. It's fine. Just keep playing our music.
Yeah, exactly. So they were like complete superstars. That's one thing that I think it was amazing. That's how people from pirate radio were actual in our world superstars. Do you know what I mean? That probably does happen now. You know, no, it definitely does happen now, especially with YouTube. But I just think it's amazing that all happened without YouTube or anything, which is why we sat there watching them, because you know, we didn't have a YouTube video to go and watch and fan over them and da. We just used to listen to their tapes in DJ Crisis's bedroom. So we knew their voices and we had to see them in pictures, but to see voice and face together, it was a madness. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that, you know, the UK hip hop and, you know, garage, you know, descended into grime sort of scene was built just off of local fame was amazing to me. And people were selling out venues and things. Like, we knew when a tape came out, someone was taping it or someone was getting it from someone, but none of us had money, so there was very we didn't have lots of money to buy stuff, so there was a lot of taping and borrowing. But the money we did have, we'd spend it on things for our music. Do you know what I mean? But to be honest, youth centers played a massive part because we were kids who'd grown up in poverty, you know, so we didn't have much. You know what I mean? Even in some people's parents maybe had a little bit more than others. DJ Crisis, his dad is Billy Ocean. His uncles was Billy Ocean, so his dad's brother was Billy Ocean. So it's not to say, so he had bare money, but Billy Ocean brought Hainsley's decks, and that was how, if Billy Ocean, who didn't make a fortune, didn't buy Hainsley decks, where would we have practiced? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is a thing of you know, money is important in these scenarios. You know what I mean?
Very much so. Very much so. So there's only so much you can do with absolutely
nothing. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's skip a little bit ahead in your journey. So going from a youth center MC and pirate DJ to pirate DJ, how did you get to constructing your first song, your first official song that you then decided to put out to people? How did that come about?
So my first song sort of happened. How did it happen? All right, so this is what happened. Yeah, so I had to think about it. No, because it's like so many things happen. You have so many. I had lots of different songs. You know, with my DNA, we did stuff, but it was only DNA. You know, we had our songs, and I wrote songs, and now I think, oh my gosh, they were really bad, but whatever. And when I think about it, some of our hooks were definitely like other people's rhymes, just with our words in it. Like busters, let me say our biggest hit or hook. The school loved it, and let me tell you, if you can guess, you might not be able to. Our big hook was, if you want beats and tunes to test with, DNA ain't nothing to mess with. Straight from John testing. DNA ain't nothing to mess with. That was our biggest. That was our hit. We did it everyone was like, wow. And even me, I didn't know it was Wu-Tang. Like, I just thought we were writing the hook, and obviously David, like, listening, and Sam listening. So I thought, oh, that is our song. And then I'm listening to Wu-Tang, and I'm like, huh? Just takes a few words. That was.
Oh wow!
So we won't count that.
Yeah, biting in that instance.
yeah. But then, yeah, and then I would say in college, basically, long story short, I basically went into college to do acting. I wasn't even thinking of doing music. That's the maddest thing. It was a social pastime. Do you know what I mean? And the only reason I went to do performing arts was because I got good feedback. I went to a terrible school, I'll be real. But my drama teacher said something good about me that made me excel in that class, drama, because I wanted to impress her, and she said something positive about me. I ended up getting an A in drama. So what do? I'm going to go and do performing arts. Do you know what I mean? So that was the, and so in that, and I wanted to do acting. I ended up there was a boy called Glenn, and he was entering competitions. He was really entrepreneurial. He was a producer, and he was like, "Oh, can you do a 16-bar rap? Can you rap?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, well, I rap." But it was, for me, it wasn't my goal. It was something I did socially, but I just did it. But I ended up getting quite a lot of attention from that. I ended up getting, we ended up winning competitions, and to be honest, like a big part of it was what I was doing. So then I ended up getting signed to management, and so that was the first time I wrote a song, and that was amazing, really, because I actually put the song on my album with Terry Walker. This is the bars from it, and I reworked it, but that was the first ever song I would say that was a proper song. And then the first song that I put out officially was, oh gosh, the wrong side, was this, which is what I talk about in my things. And so and it featured, I can't believe it now, featured
but
Clash,
yo, my God,
Loki, Unity, yeah, Strivin. So
talk
this is
about
my,
an explosive introduction to the
yeah,
game, boy.
So that was my first, and Show and Prove as well on the remix. Yeah.
Yeah, I was listening to that on your Bandcamp.
Yeah. So that was my first ever release, and that was really happened quite organically. Again, that happened. DJ Mentat made that on the PlayStation. Do you know what I mean?
On the PlayStation.
Yeah, he made it on a PlayStation. Yeah, he made it on a PlayStation. My first ever single ended up. Oh my gosh, what? Corey, can I just say everything I want to shout out is just a bit of a madness right now. Because I was like, yeah, pardon me. I'm like, yeah, I got Ryan Giggs on the wall, and sorry, I've got a cough. Then what was I gonna say again? No Clark. This was in No Clark's film. That's what I'm saying. Everyone, why don't people behave themselves? So he put it in his film, and it was the only independent release. Fast Girls.
Fast Girls, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, wow. But it was like the opening song, and obviously now that was one of my boasts. Like my first thing for an independent, and now like bro, like his name needs to rest for a bit. So, yeah. So yeah, that was my first one, and it was really cool. Ras Kwame put that out as well. He heard it, he liked it, he put it out. Yeah, he put it out, and he's independent. But and I learned quite a lot in that period because I was very much a part of sort of making that record happen. Luke Dharma, who done my cover for my EP, he did that cover. I had it was quite social. It was quite a social thing. Obviously, I used to see Loki quite a lot at open mic nights and stuff like that. Kalashnikov, he was just about, he's an East boy, but he was more connected to, no, the Twins didn't get him involved. I'm sure I made that link with Clash. I can't remember, but it was quite organic and quite natural. It wasn't hard. Everybody on that record, Shawnee T was friends with. I remember I had a couple of people, because I was there and I was quite particular. I had a couple of people record hooks on that, and amazing hooks, but I just knew what I wanted it to sound like. So and then we also, again, these opportunities are so important because there was some funding that was given to a studio in Central, and that funding allowed that song to be mixed. It allowed me to give a bit of money to each person who was on the song. So really, this wouldn't have happened had it not been for that funding. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, a lot of people do things and we hustle. I put a lot of money into things as well. But my initial first release, I didn't apply for the funding. It was just a scheme that they were like, oh, you should. They were looking for people to put out stuff, and I had this song, and so yeah, it was all a bit organic, really. And I think that's what happens. And I think you take it for granted because you're part of something. You don't realize you're part of something that, a culture that people are going to write about, but you don't see it like that. You just see it as you and your friends making music, and it's not just you and your friends. At this point, it wasn't just me and my friends, because Loki lived in West, so he wasn't my friend, but through mutual meetings at hip hop gigs, we became friends. Do you know what I mean? And so it then extended from outside of East to other people doing music. Do you know what I mean? In different parts of London, but it was still, there was I Love Live, and then there was the Jump Off, and there was Deal Real, and so we'd all meet at all of these places. So your sphere, the musical sphere, kind of expands, and then so that was that, and then I just continued to make music after that, after Strivin, really, and that was a good opportunity for me, and just kept going after that, really. Started traveling around, going to different parts of the world, making music with different people. I'm gonna put some of that stuff back online, because some of the stuff that is not up there, I haven't got loads of stuff up there because I've got new stuff coming, so I just almost don't want to confuse people, because like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing that sounds quite really different to, not really, my vocal style carries across, do you know what I mean? But even no, not really, because even me, I've changed the way that I spit on beats a little bit, so I almost don't want to put too much of the old stuff up, just so people can digest the new stuffs, and that's sort of rolling out this year. So at the minute, I think online, there's only like one album up, though. I've done loads of mixtapes and compilations and whatever. I've only done one official album, but I've done loads of EPs and mixtapes. So I think, I've got this thing on Friday, but then I've got another thing coming straight after, and I'm working on something straight after that. And so, but the sound is very, is much more crafted. Whereas I think the stuff before, there was a lot more influences from a lot of all the different genres I explained to you, which is fine, but now I've learned to articulate that in one sound. And like I say, the album I did before, like the one in 2016, like that one, I felt like it was not exactly what I wanted to create, though I was happy with it. It's not exactly where if I was to make my music, it would go. Do you know what I mean? So that's hopefully where it's gonna go now.
That makes sense.
Like, let me go, bro. Going back to Strivin, like I said, it's a fire track, and personally, I felt like you in that track, you felt like you needed to prove something. That's why,
definitely,
that way people had misconceptions.
that was the energy, definitely. And I was, I was at that point, I was like, there was a lot of people from my area were doing a lot of things, and I still got a grab, to be honest, but I've learned now, I know how to do it without, you know what I mean? And don't forget as well, my delivery was, because I came from a cypher sort of clashing type of environment, and that was on all my songs, whereas now I know how to differentiate when to pull my voice back and all the rest of it. I think before I had a lot of emotions in me, but I think my delivery was very influenced by my performance locally, and that was loads of people around the mic shouting. Do you know what I
mean? Right, because I feel right now as an artist, you're in your miseducation.
Exactly.
Tracks out, and now you putting new tracks out. It's like, that's not me. Let me tell you, I really am.
Basically, I don't feel like people really know me. Even for my last album, I don't feel like people really know me. Someone says, "Oh my gosh, yeah, you really said a lot about yourself in your thingy. I really know you." I'm like, really? I haven't said a quarter of it. Do you know what I mean? I don't intend to give my whole life out, but I do feel, and that's why, Ty was really important to me, and I've said it before, is because it's like he knew there was so much more that no one see. I feel like no one's really seen what I can do, if I'm very honest with you. Do you know what I mean? And I've just now worked out how I'm going to get it out there. Do you know what I mean? Because as well, I do other things in life. And I don't, one part of me is kind of annoyed that I was so annoyed, but I do feel that I was pushed into what I do because of my economic standing in the world. So I played football and I made music because that's what you're rewarded for, and that's what's encouraged. But actually, you know, now I'm really into I'm into research, I'm into academia, I'm into a lot of things, do you know what I mean? And but actually it wasn't encouraged in me at all, ever. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, you're really good rapper, go and do that. Oh, you're a really good performer, you're confident in front of people, go and do that. Oh, you play football. Yes, it's because all we could do was play football. Yes, you're a good rapper. Okay, yes, because everybody raps and I have timing. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, so a part of me really has spent the last, you know, 10 or so, you know, doing other things and not what my situation has, what life has given me. And though I'm grateful for it, and like I say, in many moments it was beautiful, I want other, you know, there are things for me, like I do a lot, I run a business now, you know what I mean, but I actually really enjoy a business. And why didn't I get into business? Because it wasn't encouraged, do you know what I mean? Right. And so I had to do it later, and I'm, you know, writing a thesis at the minute, and I love it, do you know what I mean? I love the research. But and actually when I think about the background of my family and how that's what they're like. But I was the creative last. I don't know if I was the creative rebellious one in a way. Well, I wasn't really. Yes, I was. But and my mum said that my mum said about me and one of my brothers, he's the youngest boy, I'm the youngest girl. She sometimes sits there, she goes, oh, I never beat none of my kids, and I had to beat them more than you and Sankey, because she had to beat, I was always getting in trouble in school, always getting kicked out. See, don't beat your kids. But I was always getting licks because I was doing something, trust me. Like, so but going back to it, when I think about my family, that's what they're into. But I guess I was rewarded for being out, you know, someone who likes being in front of people, and I was in school singing assembly. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's so many sides of me, and I really want to show that through music. And I enjoy music now, but when music became a thing where let's make profit off of these kids making music, that's when I stopped enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? When the corporate side got involved, and when, you know, management got involved. Not that my first manager was bad, he was really a great guy and stuff, but I wasn't developed enough to enjoy it, because there was something that I just did with my friends, and suddenly now I have to, you know, I was in college doing performing arts and dance. I went on to do dance and stuff, and then now I have to sit in a room by myself and write bars and write an album. What is that? Right. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. I absolutely wasn't developed, and you know, the industry doesn't allow for you to develop, and that's why I'm so passionate about artist development, and that's why I'm so passionate about people getting the education musically and even academically that they need. Because what happens is, once you fall out of favor with the industry, you're then looking for ways to earn money. Do you know what I mean? But you can't get anything, and then all these people who are just fans from the countryside are getting jobs in every, you know, any paying job, and you are there working as a steward. Do you know what I mean? When someone who doesn't even know half as much about music is working in some big music company because they nerded out and they look the same as the bosses. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, the inequality, the intersections of race and gender, misogyny, that all those things have affected me deeply, and all of that is ready to come out, not just in music but in written form as well.
And I think what makes you awesome too is that from every area you're in, the core value is discipline. So can you kind of talk about that, from football to acting to music to owning your discipline?
Yeah, I think I got that a bit from football, you know. The rigidness of being there every week and doing the drills, and then wanting to be a bit better the next time you go. And so I think, like I say, I'd be practicing before training, or, you know, going out on my own, just because I wanted to be good, because that's where you got affirmation. Do you know what I mean? And you know that to be good at anything, you need to, I mean, we know the 10,000 hours, but I didn't know that. I just know when I studied footballers, they were like, I play football day and night, day and night. You know what I mean? When you we didn't have documentaries and it wasn't YouTube, but when you'd see them talk about themselves, you know, Maradona and Pele and all those guys, my brothers were big fans of Pele and Maradona, and so they used to have their tapes, and I used to watch the tapes and see their discipline. So I carried that, and I was like, "Well, if I want to be good in the team, and then I need to do what Maradona and Pele are doing from my brother's tapes and stuff like that." My brothers and stuff, and they're quite disciplined as well. My brother's a boxer. My brother boxed for England. He boxed for Sierra Leone. So he was a professional boxer. He boxed in famous Repton boxing club. He was, yeah, he actually. Do you remember the video where Kano was boxing in the video? I can't even remember.
Yeah. I can't remember which one, but yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. My brother trained Kano for that. So my brother trains a lot of celebrities to bulk up by the time they, do you know what I mean? So
the video shoots.
yeah. So, but my brother's name's Tony Cisse. He runs a boxing academy and stuff like that. So I think because generally people in my family were very disciplined and driven, that I just carried that. But I definitely say football, and I carried that from football into music. Really, it's like. And then watching a lot of documentaries as well. I'm really into documentaries. I like making them. I made a little one even about this artwork. I'm into all those things. And I think that when you watch those documentaries and you're watching stuff about Michael Jackson and, you know, and their discipline, I just basically, I'm quite logical in the way that I do things. I look and I say, well, this is how they achieved that, then how do I work that into my life? So I think that that's kind of what I carried in, even when I do everything, like even when I was doing my teacher training, or do you know what I mean, or studying. I feel like I'm very detailed. I think that's part of my genes, not genes, that's part of my makeup and my character. I'm quite thorough in everything that I do.
That's dope.
Definitely comes across. Touching on the international bits, because on the IG live that you did with Scandus, you mentioned there's two places that I'm really interested in. One is your experience in Oz when you met Flying Lotus. Shout out to Flying Lotus as well for the Yasuke soundtrack as well. Now I finally watched it, so we could talk about it ish. So you're happy now? Go talk about that today.
I haven't seen it yet, so you can't tell me
real fast. If you get a chance, go on to my YouTube. That is not a now. I interviewed Thomas Lockley, the author of African Samurai. That was a great interview. Check that out. I don't like plugging myself, but there you go.
No, yeah. Can you, Juju, can you WhatsApp that to me? So
yeah. And
WhatsApp that to me, because I'm. Yeah,
and what I'll do for everybody else that's watching, I'll add the direct link to the interview as well at the bottom. So, and you need to plug yourself more as well. You're just
about how
I love you to pieces. I love you. I know I love you to pieces though, but that's the platform.
Russell Simmons from the UK. I love you, man. This is all about
I richly am trying. I am trying.
No, I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it for sure. I'll watch it.
No,
I never say I'm gonna watch something and I don't. If I'm not gonna watch it, I'll just shut up.
No, Ish has literally got some really great lineups. I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of he's got some. Half the time I don't even know how he gets half the people, even for us to do this. We've got even Donita Hathaway. We've got lined up as well. So that's him over there.
People already, man. You just.
Where are you based? Where are you based? Ish, where are you based in the US?
Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
I'm like an hour and 20 minutes from Philly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never been there, but yeah.
East Coast. Right. So, but yeah, no, I definitely get that sent to you. And the reason why I'm doing it is called promotion, man. You got to give them little pieces now. So I'm just saying.
Look forward to it a little bit later, man. But that's fine.
Okay, I can.
Russell Simmons.
Yeah, I'll bleep it out if it makes you that happy. But yeah, so back to you. So Flying Lotus.
You left out my name.
Don't mess it up.
Oh no, because I was gonna jump straight to the Flying Lotus because I got so gassed.
That's all right.
Isatta. Try me, ain't you ish? Anyways, right. But yeah, you met Flying Lotus of all people. So in Australia, and then he taught you how to produce because you're more used to Logic as well, rather than using Fruity Loops. Please dive as deep as you can do on that, please.
Yeah, I mean, so he didn't teach me how to produce, but he taught me how to use FL.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So so it's amazing kind of what he's doing now. But we were all in Australia with Red Bull, and so it was amazing. We were there for like 2 weeks, and we all were in like the same apartment building. Actually I was there for a month actually, but in the apartment I was in there for 2, so we all had like our own apartments within a massive apartment complex. And then there were like these studios, and there were like 10 studios that we could just go in, and then like 2 master studios, like proper big studios, whatever. And then there'd just be like breakout areas where you could just like make beats, and it was just, we were all creative for like a couple of weeks. And he would be there, and he was very introverted, very quiet. He'd sit there with his headphones, and he literally used to just produce with his computer and his headphones, and a stack of CDs. That was his setup, you know. And then he made use of some of the musicians who were kind of floating around, but it was just really dope because we all got to like make music, we got to hang out, go to gigs and stuff like that. So I was around him for a while, you know. It was a good time to sort of just pick up and learn. And so I feel like he influenced, I just watched him quite a lot. I watched Odyssey was around at that time as well. Fun A, that's how we all made that track. We made a track, what's I do? I never forget it. Oh, what song? How can you forget the name of the song you done with Flying Lotus? Hold on. No, it's not even online. I've not even put it online anymore. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Check YouTube.
Yeah, hold on.
The Perch. Oh my gosh, sorry.
That's right.
It's called The Perch. It's called The Perch, and it was cool. But I'll tell you this thing first. So, yeah, The Perch they were in the studio. Flying Lotus was just making a beat, and I was just wandering through. Like it wasn't like nothing to do with me. He was just in the session, and who was on it? I think Odyssey was already writing his verse, and Fonte was just, he writes how you probably already know, when he writes, he don't write, he just like spits 4 bars and then spits another 4 bars and spits another 4 bars. And so I just remember walking in, and I can't remember if it was Stephen, because that's his name, he said, do you want to jump on this? Or if it was Odyssey, he said, oh, why don't you jump on? It was one of the 2 of them. And so I was like, oh, but then I thought I've got to start writing like that, you know, because I I was trying to do it like them, and obviously we was all doing it there, but I like to kind of be in my head, kind of make sure the bars will tie. But I was like, no, man, I'm gonna be like them. So I stood there just doing my bars. So everything, that whole track was all just done then and there, you know. We all wrote our lyrics there, and or thought our lyrics, and I wrote it on a bit of paper. Odyssey wrote it on these, you know, them big Blackberries. And Fonte just did it in his head, but we just did it all then. Really, it was all really, really quickly. But and it was just really, it was really organic. Like Stephen was making the beat as we were talking. Do you know what I mean? So I love that, for the simple fact of it was just all by, you know, it just happened. And then in terms of the FL thing, I remember just being like, oh, I don't really know how to use FL. This was a different day, and him going like, right, I'm going to show you. And like I said in the interview, he really were patient, because I really want to get, because I just didn't understand all of the turning it around and putting it in and that. I just like, I don't want to do all that. I don't like, it's not that I don't want to, but right now, like, that's not what I came here for. Like, where's the EQ? Do you know what I mean? Like, but he was really adamant, you know, in terms of, you know, he was just like, look, you're not listening. Listen, look. I was like, oh my god, I'm some teacher, like, but you know, and he was really cool, because he taught me, you know how you import, because how we made drums was so sick, because sounds was really sick, because he, you know, like how you know the Matrix, where you put in the drums. And how you do on FL and blah blah. But he used to instead of making drums, he used to put in like sounds so that it would get that, so it would
Oh
sound.
wow.
So he wasn't playing the drums like, not the drums. He wasn't playing, like his melodies sound
Yeah.
stagnated and like they're rolling, but he would put
Mhm.
them in the drum. He would put them in the drum, he'd put them in that. And so he showed me how to do that, which was a sick trick because I do that now.
Yeah.
Not all
Okay.
the time, but sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
And so he just showed me little things that he used to do, and I'd be like, "Oh, that's how you get that sound," or and then he would just like. For him, it was all about trial and testing. He's got like such a sick ear for
Mm.
just things that are gonna sound good in a record. And I think it's not even how he does it, because I know now he doesn't even use all that. He's the Pro Tools, and I mean, maybe I don't know if he does use FL, but from the looks of what I've seen, he's now FL, uses loads of live musicians, a lot of hardware. But then it was just CDs, good ear, and just using FL in sort of different ways to other people.
That's crazy and mad
Yeah.
inspiring to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why he does exactly what he does. And
He just broke the rules, really.
yeah, really did, and shaped it as well. But that's insane. And also just once again, just your story. Like I would love to just plug more. It's like, yes, just give me
we have to save it for the album. I'm
yeah,
dropping
well,
bits and bobs. There's more to come.
yeah,
So
wicked. So we get to hear it. But then
Yeah.
so just touching on the second place, I was really, because this is one place that I'm definitely adamant I'm going to at some point. Japan. When you basically poured over there, what's a Japan experience like for you?
Mate, it was out of this world. Like, sometimes I just think about it and I'm like, did that happen? But yeah, no, it did. It did, and it's formed a lot of connections for me. Like, I even last month had a song out with a Japanese producer, and was his song. But I do quite a lot of undercover Japanese collaborations because they have their own little market, don't they? And through those connections, I'm kind of always doing Japanese collaborations. It's really mad. But yeah, like, so how Japan, like, I've been out there like twice. I licensed from when I set up a independent, and I licensed from my independent to a independent, like a big independent there, called File Records. And so I went out there and they set up like a whole promo tour and had a really good two good A&Rs. They were really amazing. And it was just the most not weird, it was an amazing experience because I got like family there as well. Like, I was with family, so it didn't feel like I was just completely out there on my own. Do you know what I mean? And I went to Okinawa as well because one of my best friends, she lives in Okinawa. She's Japanese. She used to live in London. So we met as students, and then she moved back to Japan. But then that gave me really good, I feel like I've got a good well-rounded sort of network. It's not just one thing. So that helped me to feel comfortable in Japan. She initially was a big reason I was there. Oh yes, let me tell you a story of Japan. It's mad, right? they the label that I ended up licensing my compilation Beats International to, they not randomly, obviously, they were digging and looking online, and they ordered 1,500 of those. But I didn't know this at the time properly. You just think someone's made a 1,500 order of your record, so you're like, cool, first record order. It was doing all right. And then my friend, when she moved back to Japan, she was like working in Hard Rock Cafe. It's so random. So the girl she was working with at Hard Rock Cafe, she always used to say to her, I've got a friend called Tor, like, she's a rapper, because she was interested in music. And she would just be like, whenever you say you're into music. But then she would, and then she would say to me, oh, I've got my friend, she's just started working for a label. And I'd be like, yeah, all right.
Right.
So none of us took her seriously, basically. but so when I went to Japan to see her, and she was like, oh, my friend's here, my friend's coming, and then she was like, showed my friend, her name's Tor. She was like, say your name again. And then she was like, because at this point she'd started working for this label who put this out. And she went, say her name. She said, is this a friend you've been telling me about all the time? She was like, yeah. She said, we've just ordered like 1,500 of her records. So
Wow.
we've been powering her up the whole time. And she literally was the plug. Do you know what I mean? So she was like, bring her in, you know, can you set up a meeting? You know, and then that made a bit of a buzz in that sort of a indie Japanese world. So I ended up, and she came round as my translator. And so after the meeting with her label, we met with a couple of other labels. You know, she acted as a translator. It was amazing that I had, one of my best mates was Japanese, because then she basically helped me navigate those meetings. And then in the end, I ended up getting a sort of a I got a licensing deal for my own project through it. And then that's sort of how that developed. But it literally developed through my friend working in the Hard Rock Cafe with somebody who had moved on to an indie label who ordered some of my records, and that relationship was built from there. Going there was crazy, like doing the interviews. Imagine it's like 3 of us now, you know, Juju, you asked me a question, and then you're talking to me, but Ish is hearing, and then Ish is then telling me what the question is, and then I'm answering Ish, and then Ish is telling Juju. You know?
Yeah.
I literally did a radio tour. I did a radio run like that, and I loved it, to be honest. I just felt like I was doing music, because I was nowhere to do with anything where my home was. And you know, they were, you know, how it was for me. My experience with the Japanese market was they were, you know, they had an itinerary for me. It was, you know, super organized, super professional. Rehearsals were given to me, and I just loved it. I loved the interviews, because I just felt like, even though we were going 3 ways for the interviews to happen, it was still a vibe. Do you know what I mean? I got like a load of press in Japan, and it was cool. Like, I could, you know, how it is in Shibuya, where you kind of go from shop to shop, and you know, to walk into Japanese shops with where all the crate diggers are and all the hip hoppers are, and your records in there. It was dope, man. So I loved Japan. I still do stuff in Japan. I hope to sort of go back and do a bit of a stint there as well. Yeah.
Real
And
fast.
yeah.
Were you able to go to like Black-owned businesses in Japan?
Say again?
Like, were you able to go to like Black-owned businesses in Japan?
Not really. I was like I said, my actually one, but that was with my family. So
we're still counting.
Yeah. But you know, but it is, you know, he lives in LA now. He's not but he was, you know, with someone who is my family, and he's a designer, really big. They live in LA now, really successful. But in terms of on a music level, because the label kind of were sorting everything, I was kind of with my family, or with them, what they you know, what I did with them. But what's been good about it now is that I've formed a lot of other friendships, so that when I go again, which I will, because like I said, because of the internet, I haven't had to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it will be good, because I've been able to do a lot of collaborations and stuff from here. But I definitely I am gonna, you know, God willing, go back and have a, you know, a whole promo tour, you know, maybe link up with File or another label again.
That'd be dope to see, man. Definitely keep us well informed on those shenanigans. Right, so last little bits, because we'll then move on to your project that's dropping on the 7th. That'll be the same day that this comes out. So we'll a little double up with the promotion side. But I want to explore the teaching side before we then just get fully invested in that, because I guess it's just even more amazing that for someone that's had such a filled life, I think is the best way to put it. Like, you know, like I think that's the best way to really I can still sort of express it. But where did the passion for like the teaching, you know, made you actually start to think like, you know what, I want to actually start using the knowledge and things that I've gained and then helping others do it. Because as we know, a lot of people in the industry, they do what they do. If you know me, I might help you. If you don't, you don't. What encouraged you to take those steps, and how's teaching been for you?
I think that teaching came as naturally as everything else came, in a way, because it started through doing music workshops and stuff like that. And then that sort of developed into me going into sort of charities and different companies that were teaching accredited qualifications. And then to do that, I needed to do teacher training. And, you know, so it kind of developed. And then I was running my own sort of workshop stuff as well. And that's why I was kind of right, I've got my own company, Doctored Sound, now, because again, for me, I've seen the gaps in those years of teaching. So it kind of developed into sort of from community into further education. And then when I got into further education and stuff, I needed to do the teacher training. And then obviously, as I've sort of got into doing that, I'm also in touch with the community, just on a social level. But also, once you start sort of teaching, you know, I taught mainly in areas, you know, suffering from deprivation. So then you're you know, but in that there is a lot of those who will engage in education come to do music performance, or, you know, learn about how to produce or whatever, and they probably didn't engage too well with a mainstream education. And so then they engaged in this. So then I kind of you know, when you're teaching them something that you've done, and artist development was something I feel like I lacked. It was I was thrown into, you know, and it was cool because you develop while you're doing it, but I just feel like the industry is, because the corporate interest is so such a savage, it doesn't allow for culture or the production of culture in the way that it happened naturally for me and a lot of my friends. And even not completely, because like I say, I feel like the whole in out type of industry attitude affected me big time, you know, and there's a lot of other factors that come into play with that. But for me, I kind of had a bit of an understanding of that in out system, and sort of wanted to prepare a lot of some of the really talented producers and singers and rappers that I was around, and kind of helping them how to develop as performers, how to speed up. I had to learn quite a lot of things about recording that nobody taught me, and I had to make my own systems and mechanisms so that it wasn't taking me like a whole day to record a song, or, you know, or so that I didn't feel rubbish after I performed, or how do I get the best production for myself, or blah blah. And these are things I had to work out by myself. And relative, even though I was in quite a musical area, really, as a your experience, even though there are really the things that are really similar, but as a woman, you're left to your own devices. You're literally there for somebody to use. You know what I mean? So you're not developed. So producers want you to jump on a song and do not just 16 bar, the whole song, and literally have very little respect for you. I've experienced a lot of disrespect. Do you know what I mean? As an MC, I'm talking about good things now, but I generally feel like I have a lot more memory of disrespect. Do you know what I mean? And lack of care once you have passed it. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like there is, for me, an eagerness to get a lot of artists to cut a lot of corners that I had to work on myself, because this industry hasn't it's not merciful, but also actually help them to be self-sufficient as well. And let them know that it's okay to do things slowly, and it's okay to do things by yourself. Partly why I'm just putting out this EP on Bandcamp, because, you know, I've already made money from it, and a good amount from pre-orders, and I would have had like so many streams to earn what I've earned already from something that hasn't come out. Do you know what I mean? And just so I think so in terms of teaching people, I just felt like, yeah, it's important. Yeah, exactly. It's coming out self-produced and mixed and all that stuff. And I guess that is, for me, is saying to people, actually, don't use me, stop using me for your stuff. Do you know what I mean? Let I'm a person, do I not deserve to be an artist as well? And then you'll find for women, particularly black women and particularly dark-skinned black women, you are a prop and you are a product to be used by these cool hip-hop bands, mainly white European, to come and give them a dose of blackness and a bit of social capital. And actually, I really, and that is a lot of the young students that I teach, they are used as a form of cult of capital to, you know, bring that black inner city aesthetic. And actually, I really am passionate about this. Is, you know, again, hip hop has been co-opted and used, you know, from the start, from the 80s, you know, not from the 70s, perhaps not, but relatively early on in the 80s, as you know. So, and this is something that it's had to fight with a lot of the way. But actually, technology, it's not completely the answer, because it has caused problems as well. But there are ways that people can prepare themselves for the industry. So that inspired me, and that made me read and learn a lot. And so I guess that, as once I did, you know, I'm actually doing, you know, a thesis now on what we're talking about. It's probably why I'm going on about it. But also I lecture in music business as well, because I really want young people going into the industry to not go through some of the things that I went through. I had some good times, but even now, as somebody who knows and is learning, but I've been through a lot, people will still try to act like you're a fool, you know what I mean, and try and take your money. Do you know what I mean? Like, I literally recently had a back and forth with somebody trying to take my publishing, and I'm like, do you think I'm dumb? Like, you're not having my publishing, you're not taking most of my publishing. I wrote the whole song, what are you doing? You know, and literally, because I know intellectual property law, because I had to through my degree, I literally had we went back and forth so many times. And I think a lot of these young people don't know none of these things at all. Why would I wouldn't have even had the confidence to do it if I didn't do the music business masters. Do you know what I mean? So I think, for me, I feel like someone said to me once, right, everyone's getting ripped off, but it's how much you're getting ripped off for. And for me, I just don't think, I think it's for too long, it's been acceptable for black and minority people to ripped off for an art form, but also those who have benefited or been part of it. So they might not particularly be they might not be black or ethnic, they might they're, you know, white working class who have taken on hip hop a lot. They, you know, they're getting ripped off as well, but mainly we see that they are able to climb up the ranks like Professor Green did, if they want to, even if they're from a working class background. These black artists are not doing it unless they're being used to reinforce the stereotype that keeps people interested in hip hop. So I think that there's a lot of that's being stolen from us as hip hoppers, as people, innovators and creatives. And actually, I'm really just passionate about that changing for at least some people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But also, just quickly on that, because it is obviously Mental Health Awareness Month this May as well. And you touched on a lot. And feel free, you don't have to answer. But if how did that affect your mental health experiencing all of this? You know, coming through, as you said, not like, you know, with being black for one, then being a female on top of that. I've even heard in the industry that some people will just get like singers to jump on a beat and won't even put the singers' names on it, just so that they can get those vocals and just be like, yeah, cool. Well, that's the reason why sometimes you never know who the singer is on certain tracks. But
Well, and the thing is, you are conditioned to think that's okay, you know. Like, I remember, you know, when I first started out, being in like Metropolis studio, a massive studio, and being with like a big exec now, and them like, oh yeah, we'll get someone, and then we'll talk about a song, and it was like, oh yeah, we'll get someone on a song, be a singer, but no one will know who she is, don't worry. Like, but I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, good. Do you know, do you know what I mean? And they're talking to me about my song, and they're like, yeah, we'll get a singer, and don't worry, no one will know who she is. And I was being conditioned, like, as a young person, like, oh, okay, cool, because that means more thing for me. And I was like, why is that? Not only, obviously, then I was so young, I didn't really know, but I think that it does affect. I think at the time, because you are so involved in what is seen as a culture that everyone wants a piece of, I was still getting opportunities. But what happens when the new people come, you're sort of then move, if you've not blown in this little 1 year gap or 2 year gap that radio is supposed to have played your record, then that's it. And I think it poor mental health for musicians is a common thing, you know what I mean? Like my lecturer, my senior lecturer, Sally Ann Gross, and George Musgrove, they've written a book, Can Music Make You Sick? And it's a well overdue book. They did a study, Westminster Uni, and then they studied, and they went through like 2,000 musicians and blah blah. And actually, it's a massive problem. Everyone knows it. People see people online going off because the way the same way capitalism affects every other industry, affects the music industry. And what it does, it affects. So for me, yes, I went into teaching and I found a way to use my knowledge, but actually it wasn't because I love it. It was because actually, apart from being the talent, there was no other place for me. Do you know what I mean? In the industry, when there actually should be. I absolutely am a DJ. I'm a creative. I'm making, I write. There absolutely should be a place for me, but actually, the music industry, the way it's set up for middle class white men, and then women after that. Do you know what I mean? And so what happens, and then they, and I'm not saying these people aren't fans of the culture genuinely and blah blah, but their position in this life puts them above people who have also knowledge and talent. Do you know what I mean? So actually it messes with you, and it's only now sort of understanding and studying, which is where I can make peace with it and just do the things that I want to do, set up my company, do my teaching. I don't have to be a slave to the system. I don't have to put out music on all these platforms until I want to. I don't have to put out a record every 2 years unless I want to. I don't have to do that. I like reading, I like writing, I like do you know what I mean? I like studying, I like making documentaries, I like coming up with new business ideas with my friend. We're doing it, and so I think that for me, the sort of knowledge that I can shape my own life, and I guess education has done that for me, is quite important. Like but to answer your question, I've had I wouldn't say, I mean, I've seen people affect people really bad. I know that Shocker has been quite been quite open about his mental health problems. And then obviously there's quite a lot of people, and like I say, if you speak to my friends, they'll I'll go through highs and lows, but you probably couldn't see that on the outside. It'd probably be the people closest to me. But yeah, it makes you, it takes away your self-worth. The gatekeepers who literally are not even from the scene, probably moved down from some countryside to and now suddenly they are treating you like rubbish, because now in the scene that they are looking at, they don't see anybody rating you, so their behavior is really vile, actually. Do you know what I mean? And then of course, and in terms of when we talk about producers and artists, producers and managers, and the way that they speak to you, it's horrendous. I had one producer who wanted me to vocal a whole EP, like a whole 10 songs for like £700. I was like, who do you think I am?
Wow.
Who do you think I am? And then the manager was getting proper rude to me, like and then I remember what I did, one of the songs for a really small sum. I said, no, I'll do one song. And then they were like acting like I was gonna steal the money, send the thing. I sent them the thing and said, cool, can you pay the money? They was playing this back and forth for some small money, And then they were like, oh, leave it. And I was just like, do you know what? This person is not getting this song and they're not getting my money. And so from now, I'm like, yeah, I'm like, you know what? It's not a thing of I'm not gonna be a slave to anybody, and allow them to use my voice for everything. Because like if you see a lot of the stuff online, I've got people millions of views on their songs, but on mine you'll see like 20,000, because you know what? They put all the money into their songs and what they do, and then when it comes to me, they ain't got no interest. I've worked with international artists, but actually when I'm doing my things, they pay no attention. But when it's for me to make them look good, they want me all over everything, you know. So it got to a point where that's why I stopped doing music, because I said no, until I'm putting out and producing my own stuff and making things happen the way I want it to happen, I'm not putting stuff out, because I'm not gonna be anybody's mule anymore, you know. And that tends to be how women and black women are treated, as vocalists, as rappers, unless you are the person of the moment. Don't get me wrong, I was the person of the moment and everybody was treating me nice when I was the person of the moment. Do you know what I'm saying? When I was at Glastonbury and on BBC Radio 1's list and blah, blah, blah. Certain producers and people like that, they don't even talk to me now. They look at me like I'm dirt. But this is what I'm saying. But because people have been able to treat black women like that, nobody sticks up for us. That's the way people, the industry, guests within our scene treat black women badly, because they think, oh well, no one else who we're rating is saying your name, so we don't even have to treat you with respect. Do you know what I mean? And so this is why I really, do you know what I'm saying? These are the things I've had to experience. These things I not just I experience, I know many people experience it, and you know, not just women, not just black women, but obviously we are in people's eyes at the bottom of the pile. Do you know what I mean? So actually when I was in, yeah, it was amazing. But when I was out, you know, the disrespect is actually amazing, you know. So that is something that I'm passionate about not happening to me or anybody around me that I know. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah,
words
let's get
words
deep and
can't.
heavy.
Yeah, no, it is, but then that's the reason why I asked it, and thank you for your honesty on the back of it as
Yeah.
well, because this is the, like I said on episode 3, which we dropped, talk is cheap, and that's one of the things that, because I do my little juju rants,
Yeah.
and one of them is that literally how much talk means nothing. It's got to such a point with me now where I'm literally fed up. What can we actually start to do? How do we start getting the ball moving? Which you've touched on already, that these are things that you want people to be aware of, and even in a sense through education and how to. I mean, you're doing the most. Let's just be honest. From
Thank
doing what
you,
you're
man.
doing, but what I can really do is just give you your flutes, give you soup and flowers. Same way Stats already.
Thank you,
Well,
man.
fruits. We'll give you fruits, soups, and flowers.
You know, and I'm still learning, and there's more that I seek to do. And as I was saying to Ish earlier, like I feel that musically I have not put out what I know is inside of me. So hopefully moving forward, as well as the other things that I'm doing in my own time, I'll put out what I feel like has not come out yet.
And that's absolutely amazing. So thanks very much for that. Now on to this project. Listen to it quite a bit, actually, to be honest with you. 4 tracks, but first of all, pulling it down, for real, the way you've articulated the stories literally just reflects, art, does art imitate life or life imitate art? Well, in this case, it does both. But I like the way that you've used literally the sounds of London. There's so many familiar sounds that literally trigger up, from the voiceover on the train to just the hustle and bustle, to the sounds of the markets and that, but from where I kind of understand that this is one, and you've mentioned as well, this is one, and then there's going to be several after this. So break down the magic, man, for real. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I think for me it was just the starting process of me kind of I call it a kind of biography, because with biographies you expect people to kind of get deep, and it probably talk more about the things we were talking about, but I'm more trying to introduce people to my surroundings, and then build on that as I go along each small project, and each small project's obviously going to build into a big project. And I think it's more me using it as a training ground. I've got some stuff coming out quite soon as well with I don't know if you've heard a song. I did a song with a guy called Corral. It's called Laid Back, and that came out on Melting Pot a German label, and he's a Italian producer, and so we've done an EP, and that's ready to go soon. And yeah. Yeah, it's done, but he's just put out a joint album with somebody else. You know, I'm sort of I was kind of like, okay, I've got this time, but while his thing's coming out, I'm gonna put out a little beat project, but while we're waiting for our project to come out. And I think it's more a training ground for me, and the next one I've started working on, the next one, it sounds even better, and so it's just training for me, basically training. I got people jumping in my inbox all the time for me to jump on their songs, but I'm sort of fed up of being everybody's mule, you know what I mean? And if it me and I think the temptation is that you take, you know, the producers are sick, they're good, and you know, and I think the problem for me is I produce, but I spent a lot of time not jumping on my own stuff, simply because I've mastered the art of rapping, and I'm around really sick producers, you know, definitely more advanced than I am, but then am I going to keep doing that? Do you know what I mean? And you don't sort of develop until you start putting out your own stuff, listening back to it, kind of getting the responses, then doing a bit more. And like I say, the next ones are even sounding even better. And so, so I think it's more just for me to tell the story and that I want to tell it. And as I learn and grow, the music will keep on developing. I can integrate what I want. Like a lot of the skits that were on this small project, I wanted them on my album, but the producer didn't really know how to fit them in, and that's no disrespect to him, but he's not from London. Do you know what I mean? So he doesn't get why it fits. He doesn't know. And I tend to, a lot of the producers that sort of want to work with me, a lot of Europe, from Europe, quite a lot international from the States as well, and stuff like that. So as well, all of that amazing, it's not got that London sound, and I'm very London. Do you know what I mean? And it's, but yet you can't hear that very much in my music, because a lot of the time what ascribes to London is grime, especially East London. So even but a lot of the hip hop producers there, you know, there is a, you know, a whole jazzy hip hop sound that I love, but it doesn't completely capture the London sound. So yeah, I think that is me sort of developing as a, like, I like artwork, I like art. I've got my platform Heart to Art, and so I teach music production. And so I was just like, you know what, it's kind of like music is the thing. I enjoy doing music now. I enjoy art. I enjoy creating films. I enjoy making using Photoshop. So now on my terms, now I have a job. I do music on my terms, do you know what I mean? So I've turned down quite a lot from, you know, really good producers, but it's my time now. And that's simply it, really.
That is seriously though.
Yeah. And why not? I can do the things. So why not? Why am I? Yes, I get it. They're really good, but actually, how am I going to get really good if I just always, you know what I mean, do everybody else's stuff? So, you know, and there's stuff in between, don't get me wrong, there's stuff like I'm doing with other people. It's not like I'm not going to work with other people, but I'm just, it's just timing wise, I'm a bit more strategic now. Do you know what I mean? Before it was for the love, but it can't be for the love anymore, because everybody's benefiting apart from me. Do you know what I mean?
Funny enough you saying that, because that's exactly where I've come to, or got to at this point. With everything that I'm doing high creativity wise, but we can talk more about that offline. But any advice that I could really get from you, I know you're quite busy at the moment, but if you can spare any, just that would be a massive help towards the kind of things, because as everyone who knows me well within this circle, yeah, because I do graphic design.
I should be asking you for advice.
See, but that's how it works. You can see that, guys. Once again, this is honest relations. This is how information is exchanged. So no, Jay, I need your help. It's like, okay, you know what? We'll talk. Well, let's just get this thing together.
Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah, cool. I was like, he's asking me, like, my man, like, I should be asking you. Even in my head, I was thinking, yeah, I've got to ask him for something later.
Yeah, by all means. That's what I'm here for. Go on,
yeah. But I got a quick question. I'm into art too. I love art. Talk about the symbolic of the statue in the documentary.
Yeah,
Kind of biography,
so, yeah, exactly. So the statue in it, she's called the Draped woman, but local people in the area that I live in, East London, in a borough called Tower Hamlets, and it's called Stepney, she used to sit, and so locals called her Old Flo. We used to play on her and meet each other there. Just she was just, you know, she was in a Stifford estate, so it was kind of it was you know what I mean, it was declining is a kind word, estate, but it was right by the park where I used to play football. Everything was in a like a contained space, so there'd be like there was these 3 buildings, massive buildings. Old Flow was in the middle, and then we had the field, one field behind where we'd play football. Do you know what I mean? So it was all kind of in a certain it was all in the same area. And so the statue, it was for me including Old Flo was a bit symbolic, because I just remember just sort of going, you know, to Canary Wharf, where we used to go, like when we used to bunk off school, we used to take the DLR as a trip, you know, we used to ride around East London on the DLR, like, let's go drama, can you believe it? You know what I mean? And then we used to take the DLR to like to Canary Wharf and run around, and the security guards used to chase us and stuff. And they'd be like, because we'd be in school uniform. So
that truancy was real.
Yeah, and we used to get up. Though I didn't bunk off loads, because my school was a bad school, so it was more fun in there because we didn't do any work. However, the odd time that I did bunk off, we used to go to Canary Wharf and run around and get chased. But we were in school uniform, so they knew we should be in school, and it was school times. I don't know. We'd be like, well, how do they know? But yeah, and so again, that was a sort of our life. And then Old Flo was sold. The Stiff estate was demolished in 1998, and it was shipped off to Yorkshire. I think that was where Henry Moore was, and this statue was sort of bought by the London County Council, and it was basically given as something to look at, because it's, you know, it was a very derelict area, and it was a very poor area anyway, but after the war it was even, you know, worse. So Henry Moore kind of a few of them were commissioned and were put in different estates to kind of bring a bit of joy, bring a bit of something, you know, artistic, because like I say, there wasn't, you know, like I say, football and music for us later on, but in those times it wasn't really. So I guess they were trying to bring art and culture, and so Henry Moore sold it for like £7,000. Anyway, I'm getting a bit deep into the story, but then it got shipped off to Yorkshire, and then after it was shipped off to Yorkshire, which is where he's from, they tried to sell it, because at the time when he sold it, it was like £7,000, but then now it's worth 80 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, obviously, of course, now everyone wants to know.
Yeah. No, because I find it interesting, because I kind of see a symbolism with you as an artist, as people see you as an attraction instead of to know you as the person. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's cool. Another way. Yeah, that's true. Because even some people, because some of us don't even know what she was as well. It was just that she was the only bit of art in Stepney. Do you know what I mean? So,
the statue kind of remind me. I don't know if you remember this woman in history. Her name was Sandra Bartman. They called her Black Venus.
I've heard the name, but I can't lie and say I know loads.
Yeah, in the early 1800s, she was a really chic Black woman, brought to London.
Oh yeah, I do know. Yeah, put in the.
She became a side attraction, and
yes, I do.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of pictures of her. Yeah.
And I got that same vibe to it. That statue almost.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. I know the picture. I've seen the picture it's quite around the internet quite a lot. I think that it does in a way relate. I mean, I was more seeing it from a social action type of thing, whereas like she was created for an area that didn't have anything anyway, and now she's worth something, like the sort of the gentrification of East London. Now it's like really cool to live in East London, but all of the people coming to gentrify East London, they don't interact with the people from East London. It's literally just to say we live here. If you look at you like you shouldn't even be here. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like that. And so and so there was that of, okay, is this one nice thing in this poor the poorest area has now been taken to the financial district, which is a big symbol of inequality. And Tower Hamlets is, they've built the financial district in literally the poorest area, and it takes the mick. And for us, it was we used to go and run around it, but it was a life that wasn't accessible to any of us. It was just, we just saw rich people, but it was nothing to do with us. There was no way for us to get into that life, and it was nothing to do with us. And yet the one thing that we had, you've taken it and you've put it now there for you, to keep it safe. But what about everywhere else? So I think that was, and so I think everybody from here, we kind of talk a lot about sort of gentrification and sort of the when you go around Canary Wharf, you just would never believe it's in the poorest borough in the country. When I think about the way that I grew up, and a lot of the people that I grew up, and how a lot of the people are still living now, do you know what I mean? And like I say, my friend is a primary school teacher in one of those local schools here, and it's really distressing how a lot of these young kids are living. And obviously I know as well I did work in Hackney for a bit, but I worked in North London as well, and I just think to myself, it's it's a sort of social justice is a big thing for a lot of people, especially when they've come from deprived areas. So I sort of wanted to reflect that in the EP in a very personal way, in the way this is where we sat, and then actually looking at it in that way, in terms of people looking at her and not really appreciate for what she was, because she was meant to represent somebody resting after working hard during the war, so that's what the symbolism of her was, and I guess people don't really see our hard work, if you want to look at it like that. Right. Do you know what I mean? People don't see our hard work. We're just here for decorations. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's definitely what you're saying, because we've started to notice that quite a lot here in West, especially with Carnival. Love Carnival.
Yeah.
One of my lines is Carnival is my Xmas. That's how much I love Carnival.
That's
my life. I'm not gonna lie to you. But now when you got the people up in Notting Hill, since the gentrification has happened and the prices of the properties have gone up, they're now saying, we don't want to have it. Why don't you guys have it in the park? But it's like, you moved to this area, knowing that once a year for this weekend we are going to Road March and we're gonna fet. That's what we're here to do.
Right? Exactly. You knew that. Yeah. I mean, I went to the Carnival before the thingy. I was sad, to be honest. Obviously, everyone's trying to make the most of it, but I just couldn't take all of them, because at the end of the day, there's always been drink and blah blah blah. But I just felt like people were getting white boy wasted. Do you know what I mean? At Carnival, it wasn't this like just you know what I mean? Yeah, screaming and shouting, like people would dance before, and I was like, come on, this is not the pub, like. Behave like you know what I mean? They're treating Carnival like the pub. Like I didn't like it, man.
Oh no, but you're definitely. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's just now in a sense of where when it comes to the kind of Carnival, it's because there's been so much negative connotations around it, and obviously a lot of cases of gangs using it as their kind of should we say equal grounds, or that's not in each other's kind of turf to certain things.
But that's true,
but that's what I'm saying. It's on but this is a problem. It is on.
It's a myth.
It isn't. It isn't. And so I say it does happen, because if I've gone to Rampage, like listen to this, literally Rampage, and what we usually do, we kind of near where the back and the pathway that people go through. The amount of people that go through there that we've seen with like literally cutlasses holding out whilst working through it. I'm not broadcasting like it happens to the overpopulation of it all, but I'm saying it does happen from here to there.
Yeah, but that's like London, and you've got to understand, this is a deprived, these are people from deprived communities all coming together. I think it's over exaggerated, for one, because when you think about the number of arrests and drugs and fights that go on at major festivals, like it doesn't even compare. But actually, let's just be real, it's the blackness that have made people focus on the violence that takes place, which is nothing. But for the numbers that are for the numbers and for the fact that it is in an urban area, and when I say urban, I don't mean to mean black, I mean urban as in built up area in a city, mainly poverty-stricken communities coming together. Like, you know, where you see poverty, you see crime, right? So that is going to be the case, right? When people are coming from these impoverished communities into one space, you're going to have some sort of a clash. However, even those clashes are nothing compared to sort of the drugs and the violence that goes on. I know, because I had to study this at at UK festivals, but actually there is a history in this country of demonizing, as we all know, the 696 form, which shut down grime in the late mid 2000s. So I'm not trying to say what I'm saying is, when you watch police camera action, right, on Friday nights with all them police, who do you see? Boys in Essex, white boys in Essex. You don't see you see them fighting, pulling each other, smashing bottles over each other's head. When people watch it and laugh and call it entertainment, you see it's why? Because they're out on Friday night and they're drinking. That happens, right? When you're watching those programs, you don't see black people. You see people getting wasted. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
And it's funny, it's entertainment, right? You get that environment now, you're taking that to the carnival. Yes, you're going to see similar things, but it's specifically there. No, it's all over the country, every Friday and Saturday night. And actually at events with that 1.2 million or whatever, that sort of the violence that's there, and it's not comparable. So we've got to look at what are the reasons that violence is such a big top highlighted there and nowhere else, and it actually is in line with all of the criminalization of black music in the UK. Now, when I say black music, I know other ethnicities and races participate in black music, but so especially in working class communities, because there's an affinity, we're all oppressed in some way, or shape or form, and we relate to this music. And this music now makes us feel like we belong. Do you know what I mean? So it's become the music of the oppressed. Do you know what I mean? And which black music has always been, but there are definite issues that are different. That permeate. It's about its proximity to blackness. Do you know what I mean? The association with blackness and the Notting Hill Carnival, like same with jazz. You know, when soldiers brought over jazz, there were people, they were like, oh, well, this music is making them dance. Isn't it funny? The way they're dancing is too hard. They're causing trouble. They're vulgar. They're doing vulgar dance moves. They're outside making noise. They're da 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 da. I mean, you look literally through any sort of historic British history book about black music from the 40s or even from the early 1900s, there was always issues. Do you know what I mean? So for me, this is just following a tradition. So I even used to buy into that. Oh, not if he was violent, because that's what I was told. But when I started looking, I was like, there's no violent than anywhere else in Britain or anything else in with that number. Do you know what I mean?
I make an effort. So there's only probably about a few years that I haven't ever gone to Carnival by choice. I mean, otherwise it's another design. But I have prayed for so long as I can remember of being just even a small kid, because that experience is like none other. Having all of that bass ripped, like just channeling through you, and everybody just having fun. That's where I was just like, yeah, this is where I knew that music is it. Like this is definitely going to be a part of my life.
Second to none, yeah.
Exactly. And I've gone every year, and that's what I said. When I ever hear Notting Hill Carnival is so violent, and this is why I only mention it because it ties into the whole helping the gentrification side of things. But I mean, like I said, I've been there, and I've never got into a fight with anyone. Do I ever plan to get into a fight with anyone? I go there to have fun. That's what the whole purpose is. I'm here to chill with everyone. We're here. It's a free street party. What more can you ask for? Because like you just said about festivals and events, you have to pay, and sometimes a lot to go to these events and such. But this is just a street party where we're just all out here to do for you. And we're here to be a community.
Yeah, like you say, you've got to ask as well. There becomes a part of, like, when I think about myself and being like, whoa, I don't want nothing to happen to me. I bought into that because that's what we see in the news, that's what people say, and people then start to behave how they're expected to behave as well, because there's an element of sometimes the only time let's say, young working class boys of any race feel that they are sort of sensationalized or fetishized is when they're playing up to a stereotype. Do you know what I mean? So if everybody believes that that's what it's going to be and they want to be viewed as a hard man, there will be a few people who want to play up to that, and this is the big stage. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of things into play, and there's, you know, again, being around sort of music executives and stuff like that and hearing them saying, oh yeah, we want them to be like real from the street, and I just want to conk them in their head, because I'm like, you know that that's their life, you know, and don't act like, oh, like it's something nobody knows about. You know, black music and black boys particularly have been sensationalized, and the darker, the more gangster, the more street they are, the better for them to seem authentic. So there's that all of that in play as well. Do you know what I mean? In terms of when things do happen, there's all that as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you know what? I could literally do this for probably a
rest of the evening. We're good.
No, it's fine. I love that. That's why I like doing these podcasts, because it's more.
You can get into it.
Yeah, and you've got so much to give, and I'm just so happy that this connection has now been made. So please,
let's talk again as well when the next project comes out, and
well, even before that, if you just want to just come and chat and just come chop it up with us on a Sunday for a little bit. Just whenever you got a second out of your busy schedule, just come jump on for it. We'll talk about everything. We talk about everything. So plug yourself.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So A Kind of Biography, in that little corner over there, out on Friday. 4 tracks produced by me. And then following that, I will be dropping some tracks with Lorenzo, aka Corral. So that's another EP on the way after that. So just sort of get in the mood, and after, like I say, this is a line of sort of, I don't feel like what's out represents me, but the good thing is I feel like it's coming, it's all in the laptop and it's on its way. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely. And so thank you once again for joining us on this Tuesday evening. So ladies and gentlemen,
thanks for having me. It's really good actually to be on a podcast where you're not rushing, you're actually talking about stuff you want to talk about. Do you know what I mean? So thank you. Big up to you guys, man. Thank you. I enjoyed this.
For real. I enjoyed it. And like I said, Joe's welcome back. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the No Name Podcast. We've been joined by Isatta Sheriff.
Sheriff.
I like the Sheriff because I give it a little double F. So remember, like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back with you again.
Before you go, man, we're not the No Name Podcast. We're High Creative.
Did I say No Name Podcast? Did that what come up?
It did.
Right. So this is the problem. We were known as the No Name Podcast for a bit, and now we're the High Creativity Podcast. Look, it goes to show. It's blending together. I'll get it together, people.
I actually thought it was No Name Podcast. I actually thought that's what we were on.
It's a high. We now changed to the High Creativity Podcast just because there was other No Name podcasts and other bits and bobs, and I was just okay, let's just live in this bubble, and we'll go from here. So yeah, another episode of the High Creativity Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace, love, and all that good stuff. Peace.
Thank you for having me.
Oh.